The Meta behavioral tracking system that powered its moderation AI is still logging your emotional triggers right now, and the FTC can't stop it. Meta publicly killed its content moderation AI. They held the press conference. They issued the statement. They told regulators the program was over, and the EU believed them. The FTC signed off. And yet the data pipeline that fed that system, the one tracking exactly which posts made you angry, which headlines made you click, which content made your thumb stop scrolling, is still active, still collecting, still transmitting. And this video is going to show you the internal system they never disclosed. Meta's moderation AI was never really about keeping you safe. That was the official story. The real story is that to train a system that detects harmful content, you first have to build a system that understands human psychological response at scale. You have to know what makes a person feel fear, what makes them feel outrage, what makes them distrust an institution. And to do that across 3.3 billion users, you build a persistent behavioral classifier, a system that scores every interaction you have on the platform, assigns emotional weight to each one, and stores that signature in a profile. That profile doesn't disappear when the moderation program ends. That's not how the system was built. Meta's internal research team called this the integrity audit trail. It wasn't just logging what you posted. It was logging how you responded to what other people posted. Every time you paused on a piece of content that triggered a specific emotional response, the system recorded the emotional category, not just a click, not just a view, a classified emotional event: anger, fear, moral outrage, social comparison. These categories were developed by Meta's AI ethics team in 2018, used to train the moderation classifier, and then quietly used again to sharpen ad targeting. Same data. Different label. When the moderation AI was shut down, the integrity audit trail was reclassified as a user experience signal. It never stopped running. It got a new name, and it's still logging right now. The FTC issued a $5 billion fine in 2019, the largest in its history at the time. The consent decree that followed required Meta to implement a comprehensive privacy program, third-party audits, internal oversight, executive accountability. It also required explicit user consent before collecting certain categories of data. What it did not do, could not do, was define the line between behavioral data for content moderation and behavioral data for advertising. That legal distinction doesn't exist in the United States. The FTC asked Meta's lawyers about the emotional classification system in 2021. Meta's lawyers said it was a moderation tool. By 2023, public moderation was over. The classification was still running. The FTC had no jurisdiction to stop what it couldn't define. Here's the part nobody reported. The EU's Digital Services Act specifically requires Meta to maintain content moderation systems at scale. Article 34, Systemic Risk Assessment. To comply, Meta needed to demonstrate active moderation infrastructure, which means the classification system had to remain technically operational inside EU infrastructure. Not active in the sense of flagging content. Active in the sense of existing, collecting, and being auditable on demand. The result is a system that is legally required to stay alive in Europe, is commercially valuable in the United States, and was publicly declared dead everywhere. The data flows from your European scroll session back into the same centralized model training pipeline that serves US ad targeting. This is not a loophole someone discovered. This is an architecture that was designed. The metadata tags that flag a data record as EU moderation compliance data exempt it from the privacy constraints that apply to advertising data under the FTC decree. Same behavioral event. Same emotional classification, different tag, different legal category, untouchable by either regulator. The system is running under two jurisdictions and subject to the full constraints of neither. And it has been running this way since the moderation program was killed in late 2024. The audit trail didn't end. It went compliant. What this means for you right now is specific. Every post you've engaged with on Facebook or Instagram in the last 3 years has an emotional classification attached to it. Every scroll pause, every share, every comment left half-typed and deleted, that behavioral signal was recorded, classified, and stored against a persistent identifier linked to your account. That identifier does not reset when you clear your history. It does not reset when you delete a post. It does not reset when the program that built it is officially discontinued. Your emotional profile is more accurate now than it was when the moderation AI was running, because it has more data. And that profile is being used right now to determine what you see, what you believe is normal, and what you feel compelled to share. The moderation AI was killed. The thing it built is still running. So here's the question nobody can answer. If Meta killed the moderation AI because it was too expensive and too politically complicated, who authorized keeping the behavioral database alive, and who is paying to maintain it? Because data infrastructure at that scale doesn't run on autopilot. Someone wrote those server contracts. Someone approved that budget line. And the one thing we know with certainty is that it wasn't the regulator. So who was it?